Hi! Today is the last day of our book, Mr. Lemoncello, or Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library, I guess is the proper name. But today is the last day. We are celebrating finishing our book. We have about 3 chapters left, and I'm super excited to figure out who wins. They're leaving this answer for the very last minute of the book to tell us who wins and who escapes the library, if anybody. I'm kind of wondering, are they all going to get stuck at a certain point, or does everybody get out at the same time? Does Charles and Kyle's team, do they figure it out at the same exact time? So let's start chapter 54. On the first floor, Charles was at long last video chatting with his uncle James Willoughby III, the Librarian of Congress, who was finally shown up for the Ask an Expert call. Sorry for the delay, Charles. That's okay, Uncle Jimmy, Charles said, straining to smile and not scream. The time is now 11 a.m., announced the annoyingly placid lady in the ceiling. This game will end in 1 hour. Charles had to hustle. Sir, I know you are very important and a very busy man, so I just have one quick question. If I were a book on true crimes in the state of Ohio, where would you shelve me? Library of Congress classification? No, sir. Dewey Decimal. Easy. 364.1. What comes after 1 will depend, of course, on how many books that library... Charles didn't stick around to hear the rest of his uncle's answer. He took off running to the closest spiral staircase to the second floor. As he ascended the steps 2 at a time, he saw Kyle Keeley and his entire entourage running down the staircase from the 3rd floor. Charles reached the 2nd floor balcony first. He darted around the bend, past the door to the 500s room and the 400s room. Keeley and his crew were coming from the opposite direction, but Charles reached the door to the 300 rooms before them. He swiped his card, yanked the handle, and dashed into the room. He scanned the shelves and headed to his right. He heard Kyle Keeley enter the room. Glancing over his shoulder, Charles saw Keeley go left. Charles dashed up an aisle between the bookshelves. He read the numbers in each row of the shelves, 310, 320, 330. One of those robots with the book baskets came rumbling past Charles, but he was able to dodge it. 340, 350. Kyle's footsteps pounded up the passageway on the other side of the shelving unit to his left. In the middle of the 300s room, they entered an open space with a judge's bench and witness box. Charles was getting closer to the true crimes section, but so was Kyle. Charles saw Keeley read something off his palm. He had the whole call number. It was time to change tactics. Charles hung back and let Keeley take the lead. Kyle rushed towards a bookcase. Charles sprinted after him. Got it, Kyle shouted as he reached for a book on the shelf. But before Kyle could completely pull it out, Charles grabbed a hold of the book too. They both yanked it off the shelf. Kyle had the spine. Charles had the hold of the top. They tugged at it back and forth. While they wrestled with the book, Keeley's teammates caught up with him. Careful, Kyle, cried Sierra. Don't hurt the book. Charles grinned. Keeley was the sentimental sap, listening to the silly, bookish girl and easing his grip, giving Charles his chance. He body-checked Keeley, slammed him into his shoulder, and sent him flying, the book tumbling. Charles snatched it off the floor. He had the book. He quickly flipped through the table of contents, saw Chapter 11 was about a robbery at the Gold Leaf Bank in Alexandriaville. He knew he'd won the game. Charles used his free hand to slap an L on his forehead. Loser, he sneered at Keeley. A tiger roared, a whistle blew, and Mr. Lemoncello entered the room, accompanied by Clarence, Clement, and what looked like a rare Bengal tiger. Mr. Chitlington? Charles smiled. He knew Lemoncello was about to congratulate him for defying the odds and winning the game. He had single-handedly defeated Kyle Keeley's entire team. Yes, sir, Mr. Lemoncello? Do you remember Zinchenko's #1 rule? You bet, sir. No food or drink except in the Book Nook Cafe. No, said Mr. Lemoncello, touching the tip of his nose and making a buzzer noise. Dr. Z, tell him what he should have said. Dr. Zinchenko's voice purred out of the ceiling speakers. Be gentle with each other and, most especially, the library books and exhibits. I know, said Charles. That's why I had to stop Kyle Keeley. He was ready to rip the cover off this poor book. Sir, everybody at school knows that Kyle Keeley is a maniac. He'll do anything it takes to win a game. Mr. Lemoncello turned to Keeley. Is this true, Kyle? Would you actually destroy property if it stood between you and your prize? Well, sir, Kyle was stammering. The fool didn't know how to lie. Charles quickly opened the book to chapter 11 and slipped his library card to bookmark the location. You should ask Keeley about the window he broke, sir. Mr. Lemoncello turned to face Charles again. The window? Yes, sir, the whole school heard about it. See, Kyle Keeley and his two brothers were playing some sort of wild scavenger hunt game, and Mr. Lemoncello pointed to the book. That's clever. Use your library card as a bookmark? Yes, sir, I do, said Charles, turning back on the charm. Of course, I can't take full credit for such a clever idea. On Friday night, I saw Sierra Russell doing it, and you told Andrew Peckelman to borrow her card. Charles blinked several times. I beg your pardon? You broke Dr. Zinchenko's #1 rule. You were not gentle with your teammate, Andrew. In fact, you bullied him into stealing Miss Russell's library card, which you knew she always used as a bookmark. No, sir, I did not. Yes, Charles, you did. And Mr. Lemoncello touched his right ear. In fact, Dr. Zinchenko has spent the past few hours combing through the security tapes, and guess what she found? Charles heard his own voice ringing out of the ceiling speakers. Have you noticed what Sierra Russell uses for a bookmark? No. That was Andrew, said Mr. Lemoncello. This is you again. Her library card, which, of course, doubles as a key card for meeting room B. Find a way to borrow it. You told Andrew to steal Sierra's library card. How could you record that, said Charles. I was whispering. And I have very good microphones. You're done, Charles. Dr. Zinchenko, tell our parting guests what they have just won. Absolutely nothing, the voice shouted. But please, Mr. Owl, tell Charles the correct answer to his final pictogram. Ah, yes. Mr. Lemoncello reached into his back pocket and pulled out the 4x4 card, showing it to Charles. Charles stood there fuming. Anyone care to help Charles out? Said Kyle. Is it 6-8? You're very close, said Mr. Lemoncello. There was a pause, then Haley laughed. Did it come after the football player? Yeah, said Charles. So? Andrew was right all along, said Haley. The football player clue wasn't past. It was 19. Mr. Lemoncello shifted his game show voice. So, Haley Daly, would you care to solve the puzzle? Sure. You can walk out the way the bandits crawled in 1968. I don't get it, said Charles. 1968, 1968. Ah, yes, said Mr. Lemoncello. The year from the mixed-up files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankenwheeler won the Newbery Medal for Excellence in Children's Literature. Another clue completely missed Charles. Wow, said Miguel, and I thought Chitlingtons never lose. There's a first time for everything, said Mr. Lemoncello. Clarence, Clement, kindly escort young Mr. Chitlington from the building. Bye-bye, said Akemi. There goes this game's biggest loser. Chapter 55. Open it, Akemi said to Kyle. We only have 40 minutes to figure out what lullaby the Dandy Bandits crawled into the bank back in 1968. Kyle flipped through True Crime Ohio to the place where Charles had slipped in his bookmark. Well, said Miguel. Chapter 11. The Dandy Bandits burrow into a bank vault. Even though thou shalt not steal, said Akemi. And I'll bet they crawled in, right? Said Haley. The clever thieves, Kyle read from the book, took up residence in the abandoned dress factory next door to the Gold Leaf Bank and spent weeks tunneling from its basement into the bank vault. Which, said Miguel, according to those old blueprints I found, was way down where the book sorting machine is now. That explains the first clue, said Kyle. The book title was Get to Know Your Local Library. Dr. Zinchenko meant we needed to get to know this library. This also explains why she wanted us to read those Sherlock Holmes books. The Adventure of Red-Headed League, said Sierra, the story about robbers tunneling into a bank from the building next door. Kyle nodded. Dr. Zinchenko told me she had just reread it. And I'll bet that's where she got the whole idea for the game from. Hey, Charles should have stuck with crawling through the sewers like he did in that video game, joked Miguel. He might have found the Dandy Bandits tunnel before we did. Come on, guys, said Haley. We need to get back up in the basement. Or we need to be back in the basement. I'm coming with you, said Mr. Lemoncello. I just want to see how this story ends. Clutching the True Crimes book against his chest, Kyle led the way down to the stacks. Why are you bringing that book? Asked Akemi. We'll put it in the conveyor belt things, Kyle explained. Whatever basket the scanner sends it to, I'm guessing that's where we find our black square. Our shortcut out of the library. Exactly. As the team trooped down the steps to the basement, Mr. Lemoncello turned to Kyle and said, So, Mr. Keeley, did you have a fun weekend? Yeah, good. Congratulations, Miss Hughes. It seems you have already won. Akemi sort of blushed. What do you mean? Asked Kyle. In her essay, your extremely good friend wrote, and I quote, I want to see the new library so I can tell my friend Kyle Keeley how cool it is. You wrote that in your essay about me? Maybe, mumbled Akemi. Wow, said Kyle. No one's ever done that before. Well, no one's ever going to do it again if you blow your chance at winning this thing. So can we please stop yakking and find our way out of here? Works for me. Warning, said a calm voice in the ceiling speakers. The game will terminate in 30 minutes. Everybody moved a little faster. Fortunately, when the group reached the basement, the floor-to-ceiling bookshelves didn't start sliding into another maze formation. The automatic book sorter is straight up the path near the far wall, said Kyle. They made it to the conveyor belt. From what I remembered, the old blueprints, said Miguel, the vault was right here, in the same spot as this machine. Okay, you guys, said Kyle. Whatever robo basket this book ends up in is probably sitting right on top of the entrance to the tunnel. Here goes everything. Kyle placed True Crime Ohio into the array of crisscrossing beams. Nothing happened. What's going on? Cried Miguel. Why isn't it working? Maybe the book isn't heavy enough. Kyle pushed down on the cover of it. Still nothing. They stared, dumbfounded, at the book sitting immobile on the belt. It wouldn't stop moving yesterday, muttered Haley. That's it, cried Akemi. She hurried to the wall and flipped the emergency shut-off switch back to the on position. Several red lasers sprang to life under the book drop slot. The belt started moving, slowly. The single book worked its way down the line like a candy bar on a wrapping machine. When it reached the third robo basket at the end, the rollers popped up and shunted the book off to the side where the waiting wire basket was. The conveyor belt stopped rolling. The robo-cart rolled away. Nothing else happened. That's it? Warning, said the calm voice. This game will terminate in 20 minutes. It didn't work, said Haley. We're toast, added Akemi. Wait, said Kyle, pointing to the tile square on the floor where the robo-basket had been. It was glowing, like one of those touch-screen computers in the desk upstairs. It says, How do you do? You like fun games? Get ready. Excellent, Akemi giggled, and then she and Kyle cracked up, remembering the box tops from their first puzzle in the boardroom on Saturday morning. Now it says we're going to get an anagram, said Kyle. My favorite kind of cookies, said Mr. Lemoncello. Okay, everybody, said Kyle, gather round. Get ready. Kyle, Akemi, Sierra, Miguel, and Haley knelt on the floor in a circle around the square. Mr. Lemoncello hovered behind them. Here we go, said Kyle. The game instructions scrolled across the screen. Give me 16 words made from these 16 letters in 60 seconds or less. A 60-second clock popped up at the bottom of the screen, and the 4x4 jumble of letters. Luigi L. Lemoncello, said Kyle. The 60-second clock started ticking down. Sierra shouted, Lemon! And a ding sounded from the speaker above. The 5 teammates started shouting words. Cello, Eon, Elm, Lion, Mole, Leg, Oil. 30 seconds left, said Mr. Lemoncello. 1, Cell, Cone, Lone, Glen, Lime, Mole. We have that already. Melon. That's 15, said the voice in the ceiling. 10 seconds left. Anybody? 5, 4, Colonial, shouted Haley, and the computer screen flashed, Congratulations, and winners. Somewhere, a game show audience cheered. Fireworks, rockets whistled through the air, and several geese honked, "Hooray!" "Please stand back," said the soothing voice in the ceiling, and the teammates did as they were told. "Warning," said the voice, "this game will terminate in 15 minutes. "We still need to get out, you guys," said Akemi. "Hurry! Do something!" The 8 tiles surrounding the glowing tablet also started to glow. First yellow, then orange, then purple. "Our secret square," said Akemi. There was a series of 6 clicks, and the tiles began to fold up on themselves and retract into the floor, opening up like an origami trapdoor. "Look," said Haley, "there's steps." Mr. Lemoncello peered down into the whole, well-lit staircase in the tunnel. My, Dr. Zinchenko has certainly cleaned up some things since Mr. Lullaby was here." "Of course she did," said Haley, "so we can walk out the way the bandits crawled in 1968. "Hurry up, everybody," said Mr. Lemoncello. "I don't want to be late to my own birthday party." Chapter 56, the final chapter. Kyle led the way up the tunnel and brought his team, plus Mr. Lemoncello, into an empty basement filled with mannequins and cardboard boxes. "This must be the cellar of one of the clothes shops in the old town," said Kyle. "The Fitting Factory," said Haley, reading a tag on the shipping crate. "It's one of my faves." "And," said Sierra, "back in 1968, it was the real dress factory that Leopold Lullaby and the Dandy Bandits used." "There's some steps over there," said Miguel, climbing a wooden staircase, "and a door." He jingled the knob. "Oh man, it's locked." Kyle looked up at the dingy casement windows about 10 feet above the cellar floor. He couldn't help but grinning. It reminded him of another game he'd won once. This time, he'd just have to reverse things a little. "Help me drag over a couple cartons," Kyle said to Miguel. "We can stack them on top of each other near this window." They built their steps out of boxes. Kyle climbed up and examined the window latch. "Great," he said. "Don't tell me, Akemi. Another game?" "Yep, this one's a combination lock, the kind with 4 wheels of random letters." "Warning," said the voice. "What?" said Akemi. "Dr. Zinchenko put loudspeakers in this basement too? This game will end in 4 minutes." "Yos, open the lock, Kyle," said Miguel. "Hang on, it's some kind of word." "Is there a clue?" said Haley. "Of course," said Kyle, the tiny slip of paper taped to the glass. "Once you learn how to do this, you will be forever free." Everyone started laughing. The last puzzle was ridiculously easy. "Read, children," said Mr. Lemoncello. "All together now." And they all shouted at the same time, "Read!" Kyle thumbed the wheels to spell R-E-A-D. The lock clicked and the window opened, and this time he didn't need to shatter any glass to win the game. Kyle and Mr. Lemoncello stood on top of the highest box and helped the others up and out of the basement. When Haley crawled through the window frame, someone in the crowd had gathered around the library for the first game's big finale and saw her and started screaming. "Look, it's Haley Daly! She's the first one out! She won! With just 2 minutes to go!" "Nuh-uh," Kyle heard Haley shout as her perky cheerleader voice. "I'm just one of the members of a super amazing team. We're all winners! Woohoo!" Then Akemi climbed through the window and the crowd chanted her name. "How do these people know my name?" Kyle heard her say. "Dad, did you tell them?" Sierra Russell was set to crawl out next. "Mr. Lemoncello?" "Yes, Sierra." "What time does the library open tomorrow?" "For you, Sierra, 9 a.m. Smiling, she stepped into their hands and climbed out of the window. Kyle felt bad when Sierra stood up on the sidewalk. Who was out there for her to cheer for? But then she heard Haley shout, "Hey, you guys, you gotta meet our amazing new friend, Sierra Russell. She's so smart. She could tell you who wrote the phone book." The crowd went crazy. "Sierra, Sierra, Sierra." "Okay," said Kyle, "you're next, Miguel." "And Miguel," said Mr. Lemoncello, "if your summer schedule permits it, I'd love for you to head up my team of Lemoncello library aides." "Thank you, sir. I'd be honored." "And please invite Mr. Peckelman to join you." "But Andrew thinks this library is stupid." "All the more reason for him to spend time to get to know us a little better. Now off you go." "Miguel, Miguel, Miguel." The chanting outside grew even louder. "You guys Miguel shouted, "This library is like a good book. You gotta check it out." The crowd laughed. Kyle groaned. "You're next, Mr. Keeley," said Mr. Lemoncello. "Okay, but can I ask you one last question?" "Certainly, and I hope it won't be the last. Are you really going to put us all on your television commercials?" "Oh, yes. You'll be quite famous." "Cool." "Indeed. Who knew spending time in your local library could be such a rewarding experience?" Kyle smiled. "You did, Mr. Lemoncello, and now you do too." Kyle put his foot in Mr. Lemoncello's hand and grabbed a hold of the window frame. "See you at your birthday party, sir." "Oh, yes. And you know what, Kyle?" "What?" "There might even be some balloons."